Uncle Code,
Yes,
could you tell me something interesting about the world? Maybe tell me something interesting about my hat.
your hat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Look here. Let me tell you something, Raj. Look at your hat brand, Nike. Okay. Yes, the Nike one. They did something really interesting. Are you familiar with the Nike Plus app? Have you heard about it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. People, you guys, everybody buy their Nike shoes, and then you can sync it with your the app, and then you can run, and then the app shows you some numbers and different things. There's something really interesting. Nike did this fantastic application of bringing gamification in user and customer behavior and consumer, and they could increase sales like $1 million, improvement in their sales and revenue. It was very fantastic just by nice way of utilizing gamification in their product. So that's what I
Wait.
told you about your hat.
Gamification. You mean they asked people to play video games to increase sales?
no,
I don't get it.
no, not a video game. Gamification is a kind of different topics, and actually, that's what we're going to talk about it today. I'll explain to you what is going on. I'll tell you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Uncle Talk, and today we are talking about the gamification theory. Let's play the intro.
Exactly. Okay. Hello again, Raj.
Hello, Uncle Code. Are we ready to start today's episode?
Yes, totally understand. Ready
All
and
right.
good to go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, everybody tuning in today, last week, Uncle Code, you sent me on a quest. All right. And your quest was for me to go and learn about gamification theory in preparation for today's episode. And I wanted to start off our episode today with a little interesting experiment, which all these gamification articles talked about, right? And this story starts in the country of Sweden.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with this story, right? But for those of you all listening who are not, this is basically what happened,
Good.
which shows the
Explain.
power. Yeah, which shows the power of the gamification theory. So in Sweden, the problem that they were having was that people were speeding all the time. They were speeding all the time, and the government wanted to reduce the number of people speeding. So what they did was they started fining people, right? They started giving them traffic tickets and whatnot, but it wasn't effective. Then the government sat down and thought to themselves, okay, what can we do in order to solve this problem? And they came up with this really interesting system where whoever that was following the speed limit, you are automatically enrolled into a lottery. And you can win a cash prize from this lottery. And the cool thing is, this cash prize comes from people who were caught speeding,
Mhm.
right? So instead of punishing people for bad behavior, we are rewarding people for good behavior.
True.
And the results were amazing, right, Uncle Code? They managed to reduce the average speed by 10 kilometers per hour just by
Wow.
doing that. Right? So that is an example of gamification in action. But Uncle Code, I need your help because I don't understand the amplification of gamification besides reducing the speed limit. Why should we even bother or care about gamification in the first place?
Uh, Very interesting example, Raj. Good job to warm up our conversation for people. And actually, this example that you mentioned for now has been the best in the history of humankind about the traffic in the speed. Then nothing else could get close to this kind of change that they could do that. And they asked a famous, I forgot his name, an American system designer that he had a lot of experience in gamification and designing mechanics and elements that make the game very beautiful and engaging. And then he did these projects in Sweden. It was really, really nice and interesting. And you're right. You know what? We always punish people for the bad things, and we don't care about people follow the rules and they do good things. So his idea was let's focus on that things actually and bring the money from the other people, and it worked in a really nice way. It's interesting. Just one thing I like to add here before we dive into a little bit the gamification. And gamification is a branch of behavioral economy, or sometimes people they say it's engaged behavioral economy, but they have correlation and connection to each others. This Sweden example is more example of behavioral economy. I mean, that means a way of thinking that how we can change consumer behavior toward a direction by satisfying economical goal. or it can be in the example of the government and the rules and the criminal things and accident, or it can be into a game, it can be in education. And also, if you remember, we had a conversation last session that what is truly exists in the game that make so interestingly hook everybody, adult, children, and even animal. So if we can understand this essential secret sauce inside this game, why not we apply it into education? Why not be applied into mathematics? Huh? Why not be applied to a school system rather than the current school system in US? In US, more than 30%, as I said, they say school is boring all the time. Around 40% they say most of time boring, sometime not. So what do you have down? All this kind of technology and improvement. Our children, they don't like their school. That means it's not about the math. It's about the way we deliver the math. It's not like a game. But the question is what we can get from the game and apply. This is in general gamification.
Mhm.
And
So,
yes,
Uncle, a quick question. So, what is the difference between games and gamification? Like, what distinguishes these two things?
true. It's interesting. You know what? Uh, when we say gamification, it's not video games. It's not game itself. It's not like a kind of, let's say, we build a game to teach mathematics. We build a game to teach biology. It's not about that one. If I want to make it clear a little bit, I think it's a good to talk about this one. Now we're living in a time that getting people attention is very difficult. We call it engagement crisis. There are a lot of things that can distract us, or messages, or phone, or notifications, or games, or apps, or emails. There are tons of it. It's a kind of attention deficit happening around the world, around the whole atmosphere. For example, Microsoft says that above 98 percentage of people, they just make a decision less than 10 seconds to stay in a website or go to the other website. It means if you are a web designer, you have just few seconds to convince a user to stay in your website, and they're going to jump to the other one. Worse when it comes to the mobile apps. It's crazy. It's crazy. What I have to do is so difficult to get people engaged with your product. If you are a marketer, if you are a YouTuber, it's so difficult because people immediately, oh, I don't want it. I want it. I don't want it because too many
Yeah, you can spend weeks and months on something, and people forget about it in 10 seconds.
10 seconds, and there are too many options. It's so difficult to hook people into what you are doing. Or, for example, another interesting number is in US, especially, the more than 85 percentage of users, when they are watching TV, they are using second and third screen at the same time. Looks like I'm looking at the football and I'm using my phone and I'm talking Twitters and also in my Instagrams, and also maybe I have an iPad and I. It's interesting. Look at there's a new world because it's so funny because historically TV considered as a distraction. Now we have another distraction from another distraction. Distraction in I feel like we are watching Inception movie. We keep moving in the layer of the distraction. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
This means that if you want to get the attention of your users in 2021, is so difficult. You have to go through many things. Or you know what? It is another thing that I can say here to show that why we need gamification first. Then I go through compare with the game. Or for example, more than 90 in this statistic come from US, but it can be applied to majority of other countries. In US, around 90 percentage above of people, they're checking their phone every 10 minutes at least.
Mhm.
So every 10 minutes at least, okay? This means how distractive became the universe. It's not like I kind of before that I can get your attention. Please listen to me, do nothing else, let me talk. No, I have to be more creative. This means that we are experiencing a kind of crisis. This means we need some better approaches to make people engage. And then when it comes to games, something interesting happened. Games that are so successful to make people hours engage with the game and do a lot of tasks and activities and do these kind of things. So then it came to this concept of designer, system designer. What kind of elements from the game itself we can bring out and apply to digital marketings, apply to education, to HR, human resource, staff trainings, a loyalty plan, for example, is a kind of traditional way of thinking about a gamification. This is called gamification. So it's not about playing game. It's not about building game. It's about what are those elements game designer they use to make their user engage with the game How can I bring it to whatever I'm going to do? Maybe I'm a speaker, maybe I'm a course designer, maybe I'm a marketer, or maybe the person in charge to change the behavior of people in Sweden driving. How can I bring those elements to maximize people engagement and maximize their satisfaction? So these two things. So if I want to give one definition for gamification, gamification is all about, put simply, is about engaging users and sort of changing their behavior by taking the best ideas from games. Okay, loyalty programs and behavioral economy. These three area: games, loyalty programs, and behavioral economy. This is called gamification. Gamified the user experience.
Mhm. Right. And so that means the difference between games and gamification is gamification takes the elements from games that
Mhm.
makes it fun, that makes it exciting, and we use that in every other part of life, right?
True, true, true.
Uncle Code, could you just tell me slightly about, like, maybe from a what happens in our brain, right? Why does gamification, why is it so fun and exciting for us? Like, maybe from a neuroscientific
Mhm.
perspective,
Mhm.
what happens?
Okay. Uh, Interesting questions. You know what? If I tell you that, you know what? It has been a lot of conversation and discussion between philosophers in the last 200 years and before that, that we are a slave of our pleasure, or sometimes they call it hedonistic. And then that means we follow pleasure. We want to have the pleasure. John Locke, a famous philosopher, and many other philosophers, they talk about this one, that we shouldn't suppress this one. We might have some kind of regulation and rules, but we like to have the pleasure. So historically, everybody got this concept that pleasure drives us. But now with the modern science, neuroscientists, they know what is happening in the brain. They could open the brain and understand it. Let me give you one example before I dive into the brain. Something really interesting recently happened. There's a report that shows that the Generation Z has lesser interest in driving car than the generation before them. This is an alarm for big manufacturers. They're creating
Yeah.
cars. They have lesser interest in driving, and they did a lot of research, and they found some reasons for that. But the interesting reason they figured out is Generation Z, they know that if they drive, they can use lesser of their phone, Instagram, and tweets and app and the game. So they prefer to not drive, stick with their this stuff, and use Uber, Grab, and other stuff to do. It's mind blowing. It's
Yeah, my goodness.
because there is something nice about this. Let's back to pleasure. We are pleasure oriented animal. It means that I am a human. I have a choice. Drive. I know driving and tweeting increase the accident chance, but forget about that part. If I drive, I can't be with my phone and the pleasure. So should I change my behavior, or no, pleasure is the winner? Let's forget about driving and stick in the pleasure. This shows that we prefer the pleasure rather than changing our behavior to drive and not use the phone. This is the power of the pleasure. Power of the pleasure. It's really interesting. This is a big reason for scientists, neuroscientists, to know what is going on in the brain. And now let's dive to the brain to answer your question.
Mhm.
You know what? Whenever in your life you take a challenge, you challenge yourself, okay, for anything. Let's say you want to learn a new language, you want to just do like 20 difficult dumbbells bicep, for example, or whatever you took in your life, anything. When you take a challenge, you do the achievement, you feel pleasure.
Yep.
Ah, you like it. And then again, challenge, achievement, pleasure. Challenge, achievement, pleasure. Challenge, achievement, pleasure. Challenge, achievement, pleasure. This is a loop. We call it pleasure loop. Okay, you like this one. You What is happening? There is a magical chemical components in the brain. We call it dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone, which sometimes we call it pleasure hormone. It will be released when you get that cycle. It gives you the feeling of happiness, strong and satisfaction, and make you addicted because you want to have it again. And it's very healthy, and that's super nice. And then for years we were thinking that when you get the achievement, brain release this dopamine. But in new research, they figured out it's not about achievement, it's about anticipation of achievement.
Mm.
Very different. Very different. It's not about you. You actually they did tests. They did tests on some people. They figured out the amount of the dopamine is when you anticipate the achievement. Looks like when you're watching a football, you may think we're gonna win, we're gonna win. But when you win, when you won, dopamine go down actually. The same, that's why we go to casino and playing games, because I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, the dopamine improve these moments. Or when, for example, you want to get in love with someone, oh,
Mm.
I'm gonna reach, but again after a few years after that things will get a little bit normal. But the point is, so if we can keep ourselves in this cycle of achievement and having anticipation of achievement, dopamine release. So gamification uses tools, strategies to give this feeling to people to release their dopamine. And there's one interesting thing that I want to say to finish this answer is, in real life, how many times, how often you have the chance to get the challenge and get the achievement? How many times you can be president of a country? How many times you can be the best YouTuber in the world? How many times you can be the best number one in a school? How many times it's limited, right? We can. That's a problem. The problem is this: we go to a school and oh, I couldn't be number one. It's not like a kind of I can do it every day and try it. But when it comes to the virtual world, no limit. We can
Yeah.
give people the pleasure of challenge and achievement and be number one, number one, number one, number one, even million times in a day. So that give you dopamine. So make you dopamine is important. Dopamine increase your health. Dopamine increase your muscle improvement. Dopamine increase your brain and happiness and many more things.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Uncle Code. What I've discovered about gamification is that it's very subtle. As far as the real world application goes, sometimes you don't even notice that there is some gamification element going on there. For example, like with a lot of my health and fitness apps, whenever I clock in a workout every day, I will get a reward, or I'll get a notification that says, "Oh, you're on a 20-day streak right now." So
Mhm.
there is an element of gamification, but the
Perfect.
brands never go out there and scream like, "Oh, guys, we have gamification." That's not how they say it, right?
Yes.
But that's in terms of the health and fitness industry. In my house right now, all my housemates have this thing. We are using this thing called Chore Wars, which is basically the system where the more household chores that we do, the more we wash the plates, the more we clean
Mhm.
the house or whatnot, we get experience points to
Mhm.
see who is the highest chore doer or the cleanest person in the house, and that is an
Mhm.
element of
Yes.
gamification that
Yeah.
we are trying out.
True. True.
What other applications are there of gamification in the real world?
Interesting questions. You know what? Now, when people that want to give example of the gamification, typically start from marketing, because marketing is it has a great experience of it. And yes, using these tools, mechanics like what you mentioned, experience point, and then there are a lot of interesting stuff about designing gamification. For example, if you are building an app, or you're building a marketing campaign, or you're building a course, and you're giving your users points based on their engagement. For example, let's I give you a little bit example of education. If a child or students, or like a Duolingo, you look at the Duolingo, all these kind of apps, they are using mechanics of the games, or Instagram itself. Look at that. You open up your Instagram, what do you see first? Those big numbers,
Yeah.
followers, like that's your scoreboard. A scoreboard, it just motivate you. Wow, I got two more likes, I got this, I got that. And the elements of variability of the reward that you don't know when that happened actually make you to emit more dopamine. So when it comes to these mechanics like points and then badges, ranks, reputation points, let's say trophies, streaks, and we have around 12, 13 elements when you want to design a gamification system, and we have to really use them in a proper way. But when it comes to different businesses, to digital marketing, we use it a lot. We can bring it to interesting smart campaign that people do something. For example, when they were releasing Batman movie, the Joker one, and a very famous company US, they applied gamification. What they did, they distributed some limited physical card that has the Joker in that one side in different part of the US, and told the people that we go and find it. There are some in comic books, some famous libraries. It's hidden in different places. Treasure
Mhm.
hunting. And if you get the card, behind the card it was a code. You scan the code. You go to a page which is a big picture, but the picture is not revealed. When everybody take a card and go to the page, one pixel of the image will be revealed. Eventually, hundred thousands of people got, and then the image reveal was a Joker. Joker sent them a message that everybody, a specific day, should be on that part of the town, because the goal was this: people engage. At the end, one person will be selected to really be in the Batman movie. That means we invite him to be in a Batman, to be adopted,
Wow.
to be abducted by Joker. So 20,000 in just Seattle in America that day, everywhere, comic book and do this and that. And I was, so this is a kind of example of gamification in the marketing. Gamification in social media, it's everywhere. Or for example, when you go to the restaurants, you write comments, you share with your friends, you get points. That's again another example. Or there's another famous app that I can't remember the name, that when you go to the restaurant, you order the food, you collect points, and then you can use your points to redeem free food for hungry people, so
Mhm.
poor people, something like that. It's a great example of gamification for better application in society, so that brand get a better name and people engage more with that. And also there are examples in human resource, how to engage your team members in your company. That means they really engage with that. For example, maybe a company come up with this idea that there are 10 things I want my staffs to do every month: exercise, take a photo, upload in the app, they get 10 points. Cleaning their house, or doing this and that, or doing the jobs and helping each others. And then at the end, there's a leaderboard. So there are a lot of interesting stuff that we can apply to do it. And of course, my main expertise is in the education, that we will talk about in another episode, that how bring gamification into education to hook children into learning.
Wow, amazing. Uncle Go, when you talked about using gamification to help society and the community, I actually stumbled across a couple of articles that talked about how certain countries, not entire countries, but certain places within the countries, were using gamification to encourage people to take vaccinations for COVID 19.
Oh.
So there was this rural village in Indonesia that actually had a cow as a prize, right? So
Mhm.
as long as you get your COVID 19 vaccination, you'll be a part of this lucky draw to win a cow. And I thought that was brilliant. It was so intelligent. Can you imagine, like, if countries used gamification to control the COVID 19 pandemic? That would be crazy, right?
You know what is interesting about this example? Gamification is easier way to change people behavior rather than directly educate them first. So it's a way to engage them. That's one of the things. For example, traditionally people, teachers, they teach mathematics in a boring way. They just go through every details and they don't care about it. But if you come up with some gamified puzzles and game first, get the engagement, then train them, then teach them why vaccination is good. When they come, when they engage, true. And there is another example, I guess it's still against Sweden, if I'm not wrong, that they figured out people, they want to ask people to not to keep environment clean, right? They wanted to do that. In one of the famous park, so they install a lot of bin, rubbish bin. And then people, they didn't do that much. Then this time they install a kind of device in each rubbish bin, that when you drop something in the rubbish bin, then it sound like "Ooh," will play. Okay, looks like, wow, there is a kind of deep hole that you drop. And then next day, everybody gamified, people collecting to play again, to sound again, to sound again, children collecting. In 1 week, garden, the park was clean. So behavioral economy says that, do you understand that we naturally we like pleasure? The pleasure part is older than rational part. Rational part is the part that you have to spend time to teach me why should I keep place clean. But pleasure is older. You give me something for fun, I will do it. And people react fast. And after a few weeks, people understand this is good because they stop the sound. Then behavior didn't change. People used to it. People clean it. That's one of the beautiful example that how gamification can change consumer behavior.
So it's interesting when we play games, at least my experience with games, and I'm sure a lot of you guys listening to the show right now will relate with this. When we play games, sometimes we just get so absorbed in it, right? We're having
Hmm.
so much of fun, and we look at our watch and like 2 hours just flew by. Why does this happen with games, Uncle Code?
It's very interesting. So remember that dopamine is the main guy behind all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so but there's something really interesting. There is a research, famous research by a great scientist, psychologist, and his name is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And then he came up with this theory, flow theory, a state of flow. What is a state of flow? Everybody experiences state of flow. You know what? Sometimes you are in a gym and doing a kind of exercise. Suddenly you feel you forget about the environment around you. You lost the track of the time. You are somewhere else, somewhere that you always want to be there, and then you
Mm,
back. Oh, I'm here. Sometimes you cook. This may happen. Sometimes you're watching a video or movie or playing a game. You just disconnected from the environment around you, right? Everyone has. Even now, even some now sometimes suddenly we forget about the round and then we back to the room.
yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sitting down in my table, I'm talking to Rod. And I guess sometimes I'm talking. So, and may happen when you are listening to a famous speaker or a good speaker, suddenly you get disconnected from the world around you. So, what is these things? He worked on this research and he figured out majority of the famous musician, scientists, everyone built something famous. They did that one when they were in a state of flow, when they were disconnected. And he figured out experts and professional and talents can do this more than other people, and they enjoy better because, especially mathematics, for example, if you love math, suddenly you will get disconnected hours from the world. Coding, when I do codings, I forget about it. Even if I have to go drink waters or go toilet or pee or whatever, I forget. Oh, now I have to go. So he started to figure out how we can come up with some solution that everybody experiences a state of flow more than other people. And then he defined something really interesting. He figured out there is something between boredom and anxiety. We call it state of flow. It's somewhere that you are into that feeling. Let's imagine of a game, because you asked about a game. Let's say you're
Mhm.
playing. I want to pick up a game that everybody remembers somehow. Angry Bird. Okay, I
Yeah.
think no matter parents or children, everyone remember this one. So Angry Bird. Angry Bird. When you started to play Angry Bird, you were in charge to just smash those structures come to you with the bird, and then next level, next level, next level. Right. So if you design a game, you want to make sure that your user exists as much as possible in the state of the flow, because that's why they back to your game again, because they love your games. Because I play Angry Bird, I'm disconnected from the world. So two things happening: I keep you as much as possible in a state of flow and increase the satisfaction. So these two elements are important. Then what do you have to do when you design a game? You have to give a little challenge to the person. Little challenge. If you don't give challenge, person feel boredom. If you give big challenge more than the skill that person has, they feel anxiety. But if you find a nice spot, golden rush, a golden place, and then you get that challenge. I get the challenge. Okay, I have to try. Okay, I do it. Oh, now I do it better. So you turn the challenge to a skill. They call it a skill by training. But then when it's a skill, I want next challenge. I want next challenge. If you don't give me the next challenge, or you give me late, you will lose me. It's
Mm,
very particular. It's very particular. If you give me the challenge soon, while still I'm trying to make this challenge a skill, you drop me to anxiety. If you give me late, you drop me to boredom. Let's say here is boredom, here is anxiety. Okay, let's call it, here is anxiety, here is boredom.
yeah.
Okay, somewhere middle, somewhere. Oh, it's difficult to show you. Somewhere middle is the somewhere middle is the the flow. So technique is this: to give a little challenge, give them time, a little challenge, time, then I'll get mastery. While it's dangerous to go to the boredom, you give me another challenge. Then again,
Mhm.
again, time, another challenge, another challenge. So it looks like kind of a stairs: challenge, time, challenge, challenge, time to a skill, challenge, time to a skill, challenge. As much as you do it like this, I move into the state of flow. I won't go to
Mm,
boredom. I go to anxiety. Actually, he created more area than this tree, and he found out how we're gonna do that. So, game designer, they know this very well, because if they don't do this, sometimes some games is difficult. You lose. You don't back to them. Sometimes they don't challenge you. In education, in children, in life, and everything, this has a lot of application that I'm gonna talk about it later. So, state of flow is that beautiful meditation that you feel when you are enjoying from what you are doing.
So previously, Uncle Code, you talked about a few of the game mechanics in gamification, right? You talked about experience points. You talked about badges and leaderboards. What are some of these other game mechanics that we can use in gamification?
There is a kind of pyramid. There's a layer top of each other's. When we build is a stack model. The first things always is point. Very simple. And one of the old one, you know what? The loyalty plan, loyalty program. I think it's everybody knows it. So traditionally, gamification people know it as a loyalty program. You just collect points, right? So point is important. But it turns out if you just give points to people at some level, people get used to it. You see, we're greedy. Just another point. Again, another point. And many brands they do this in a wrong way. They think we give points done. Ooh, we are gamified. We are gamified. But it's not like that at all. So anyway, point is number one. Then the next come to badges that they focus on achievement, engagements. Like you do this 1 week, I give you this badge. You finish this course, I give you this badge. You finish that level, I give you a hero badge. And people they like badge as teachers, so it's kind of memory something. So the second one is the badge. The third one is actually come to the rank or level. For example, I'm collecting the XP. You see, it's really smart. If you cross 1000 XP, we call you beginner, for example. You finish 5000, we call you hero. So it's technically it's point, but another name over the point because it gives you social status. You like it. You like to say, "Oh, now I belong to the community of the geek. I belong to the community of the hero." The rank is very very useful. Then is leaderboard and a scoreboard. A scoreboard is what really can be on your nerve. I have to improve it. I have to do that. This. And then leaderboard is a scoreboard multiplied to the number of people you know in your life. Because now you can see your scoreboard and compare with others. For example, you are in top, and that's very effective. If really you care about what you're doing, and you know what, leaderboard, this even designing leaderboard has tons of different ideas how to do it in a better way, not the wrong way. By the way, it's nice anyway. You see where you are, what is your position, who is the number one, and who. Especially, I like those leaderboard tell you how much more you need to go to the next level or or game design to tell you how much more you need to go to the next rank level and that kind of things. And then we have reward and trophies, and that means you're going to do some things, you're going to get some sort of rewards, community rewards, social rewards, different depends on the project, depends on the games. And finally also, you know, when we get more, you see I started from the point, right? Point is very individual. When we go up is getting more into the team. When I say leaderboard, engage more team. So individual and the team. So it means it's very important because we are talking about intrinsic and extrinsic reinforcement. Gamification is about this. How intrinsically I am inspired to do some things, and how team and social can help me. And finally, at the top of this stack, there are some things like competition, collaboration, team points, how much you help other team members, you get the points, and also feedbacks and reputation. So this is a spectrum of gamification.
Right. So when we talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, I think there will be variations between people, right? Some people are more on the intrinsic side, some are more on the extrinsic side. And naturally, we will have different, I don't know, player styles or different personalities when it comes to gamification. Like if you're talking about video games in general, I know some people who play video games because they want to be number one on the leaderboard. I know some people who play just because they want to have a good time with their friends. So, is there a way to categorize these different player styles?
Okay, there are different ways we can look at people, but let me tell you two ways. A simple one: there are two group of people. We call them when it comes to reward. You know what? One of the things we call it. Let me tell you this first. We have something we call it conditioning, operational conditioning. It's very important. Imagine if every month we give people their paycheck. Paycheck is a reward, but it's fixed amount in the fixed interval. Very soon you don't feel different about it. Okay, so okay, so if this is in contrast with variable reward and unexpected reward, we call it conditioning. That's what we have in casino. They research shows that when reward is unexpected and the amount of it is also variable and random, make people crazy about it. For example, if you have a child, if you just every week give him 10 ringgit, 20 ringgit, very soon it will be a kind of, okay, where is my 20 ringgit, dad?
Yeah.
But if you mix it, you need both. If you mix it with unexpected and variable rewards in for your children, for your staff, for your loved one, and everybody around you, you make it much better.
Yeah.
Okay, you make it much smarter. So this is called conditioning. And game designers, they have to really, and gamification experts, they have to really consider this. Make sure, remember, we need both of it. We can't just make everything random. Then we give anxiety because we don't know when is our paycheck, when is
Yeah.
my salary, how much is my salary. So, but mix, we need mix of them. Maybe that's why commission model is interesting. But anyway, then it give us two kind of people: maximizer, satisfier. You know what? Imagine you want to go and buy a car, okay,
Mhm.
Raj? So, and let's say you may say, okay, I need a car that has this kind of capability and the speed and the consumption is like that, and you have some certain criteria. The very first car you reach, satisfy, you buy it, okay?
Right.
But there are people, oh no, I have to list down everything, all the things I have to search entire the universe, and I make sure that I get the best, maximize the outcome.
Yep.
Which one you are?
I am the second one, unfortunately.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. then, so, then it's very important. So if I'm building a gamification system, I have to make sure satisfy both of these two personalities. I have to
Mm.
create opportunity for satisfiers, because if I don't give this and I only design for maximiers, satisfiers that are feel like anxiety.
Mhm.
So well, I can be happy. Imagine living with so protective and over perfectionism parent, you're never ever gonna get reach to the happiness or a kind of. But if you have that appetite, habit of maximize things, you need options, you need choices. But if you're satisfied, you don't like choices. So this is just an example to give you the feeling, the sense of people that you're engaging with them. This brings us to very famous, popular Bartel model. He created a nice research and come up with the four different personalities. And Raj, this is not only for gamification; it's everywhere in your life
Mhm.
and in yourself. In gamification is everywhere. It's about how to communicate with your friend, how to engage them with yourself. Everything's everywhere. You know, even your pets, animals, everywhere. And he came up with these four personalities. These four personalities, it's not like you're only one of them. You have all of them, but one of them is dominant. The
Right.
number one is there are two people, achiever and killers, and the other side we have explorer and socializer. Let me start from killers. They kill. Okay, I give an example in the game. Imagine you're in the game, doesn't matter. I have to be number one
Mm.
and no one else. No one else. I have to be. And so they like situation that doesn't have two winners, three winners. No, they don't want to share. I have to bid it. So they like those games. Or when they are in a game, they try to reach to top, to be number one or A plus. One. I want to be one. I want to be the best. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with it. But anyway, that's a personality. You may be like this, or you sometimes on some context you are like this. Number two are achiever. Achiever also they want to be on top, but they're okay to see other people on top. Maybe many entrepreneurs are like that. They want to achieve, they want to build something for their own and then achieve. And it's okay if there are some other people. So that's it. The third is explorer. You know
Mm.
what? If you have friends that when you look at the Instagram, a lot of images everywhere they go. For example, they go Hong Kong, they go Singapore, they go Spain. They go everywhere. They check everything, all the food, all the music. They get friends. They pick up everything. They explore everything. These people are explorers. And when they play game, what make them sad? Finish the game and game doesn't have new map. Next map, next map, they call it. So they love exploration. So if you build a system, you have to really consider how can I satisfy these explorers. And finally, the biggest group, which they say 40 percentage of any app loyal users are socializers.
Mm.
Socializers, those people satisfied by writing comments, by sharing, by helping, by contributing. For example, in a game, in Clash of Clans, many people they like to contribute their troops and coins to friends. and give them this and that. They like this. So if a system should have. So the point is this: understanding these four personalities is important because you want to build a system for everybody, unless you want to build a system only for killers, or
Mm.
you want I believe the traditional education system is for killers only, that's all. So we train killers, okay, I'm supposed to not talk about education today, forgot. So then there's nothing for socializer, achiever, and explorer.
Right.
So if you want to build a system for all of them, you have to understand, you have to go deep down to understand what are those points, badges, mechanics these people they like it, and then bring it into your system.
Right. So, Uncle Code, out of curiosity, what's your Bartle personality type?
Achiever
Achiever.
and
Very
explorer.
nice.
Achiever and
Very, very
explorer.
nice. Yep. So, for everyone tuning into the talk show today, let us know what your Bartle personality type is in the comment section below. We are super excited to find out. But I think we are nearing the end of our talk show for today. Uncle Code, any final thoughts for our audience?
You know what? Then you ask people to tell share. Actually, there is an online test for that.
Very nice.
Maybe we can share it and people can go and test it. There's an online test, a questionnaire for Bartel. If you search online Bartel game personality quiz, or we can be there are a few of them. We may share one of them, and then you guys can go through it and then try to figure out which one you are more. Okay, that's the kind of things. And also there is another famous um, kind of question form. If I don't make a mistake, Helen Fisher is a famous American anthropologist and human behavior researcher.
Mhm.
She's great. She's great. She's very great, very great. I'm really a fan of her. I watch her TED movies, videos. I read some her books, and he has a kind of another way of looking to these four personalities through neuroscientists.
Mm.
Talk about not only dopamine, she talk about serotonin, she talk about estrogen and testosterone. So she defines these four important hormones in the people personalities, and she talk, and she has an online also quiz that tell you which one you are. She's the one. She's the best. I really suggest everyone definitely watch her talk in TED videos. He had a nice talk in the Google. I may share that links for people to watch it. The 1 hour talk in the Google is beautiful. I can't add anything more to what she says. And then so in a humble way, she's great. She's really good. And so they can try it. And then back to your or wrap up for today. What I'm going to say that it's really interesting and beautiful when rather than looking to the surface, when you see your children play game, so you want to be a bit wise parents. You want to see things happen deeper rather than just looking to the surface. Surface is my child is spending hours for nothing, just playing something that I don't get it. My child is losing the time and his future, her futures, and eyes and blue. And you try to search a lot of things over the internet to pick up some articles, give you a list of negative things about digital time and the screen. But you never stop and thinking, what is inside the game that make my child so into it? Why a school doesn't have that things? Because we are afraid question things we have them for many years. A school looks like a kind of religious. No, we can't question everything. If you don't question, then nothing gonna happen. You have to go and ask them why your teaching is not like a mobile legend. Answer me. Yeah, and to do that, first you have to figure out what is happening. It's so beautiful from that concept, something like gamification come out, and then we can apply to economy, to marketings, human behavior, raising your children, yourself, your life, even yourself when you want to engage on exercise. If you know gamification and your type, if you are explorer, you don't build or you don't get an app for exercise designed for killers because it's not going to work with you. And then after 1 month, you don't like it. Maybe you don't like to see a scoreboard. Maybe you like to see something else. So it's important that we a little bit educate ourselves about these things. My point is think deeper. You will find other stuff.
Amazing, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We have come to the end of this episode of Uncle Talk. We want to know your thoughts and your comments on gamification. Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because your support keeps the show going, and we are super excited to hear what you have to say. All right, Uncle Code. Until next
Yay!
time, everybody at home, bye bye.
Take care and gamify your life and your children. See you guys.